Right. Hello,
Hello.
everybody. Well, it will be November 1st when this goes up, but I am here with the absolutely wonderfully talented Danielle Cohen, who does the Guardians of Camelot series. And I'm very excited to chat with her as we
Yeah.
we mostly communicate like over email and
Yep.
like Instagram. So this is very exciting. So let's jump in. So can you tell me a little bit how you got into narrating?
Um, I always feel like I need to abridge this story, but I don't know why, but I'll make it brief. um, I was always an actor, so even from a young age, and um, I did a degree, tried to get acting work in London, and I did some sort of, some bits and bobs in London, like fringe stuff, and always wanted to do voiceovers. But in those days, and we're talking in the 90s, I was going to need an ISDN line. So, and that for me was like, no, I'm not going down that road. But then after doing many jobs, I trained to be a fitness instructor. I worked many temp jobs. My husband and I ended up, for various reasons, moving to America, and he's English, and we live in a house in Vermont in the woods. It's super quiet. And I thought maybe this is now my opportunity to do some kind of voiceover. And by then, I didn't need an ISDN line. And I went onto ACX, and this is actually now about 10 years ago. Um, I went onto ACX and read, a lot of the blogs they had there about narration. And I've always been an avid reader. That's just a given. I always was reading. I read to, I was always reading. And I did some research and I thought, okay, well, I don't have a sound booth though. So what am I going to do? Spoke to a friend who recorded his own music in his sort of makeshift studio. And he said, just get some things together, come along, record them. So I did. And he kindly edited them, mastered them, and I put them up on ACX. And after a few weeks, I thought, this is all well and good, but can't audition for anything because I've not got anywhere to record. And I was on the verge of saying to him, can I come and record some auditions in your studio? Even then, I don't know what my plan was. And then, literally about a week later, I got an email through ACX from a writer who just offered me a book, royalty share. And I knew nothing. Apart from on ACX, I'd not joined a Facebook group. I'd not done
Yep.
any coaching. I mean, I was an actor and I'm an actor, but I'd not. And he offered me this book set on Martha's Vineyard. I'm English. Every single character was American.
Oh
And
no.
my reaction to it, because I was desperate to do this thing, told my husband. Now, my husband has a background. He made a movie, he knows Pro Tools. Our joint reaction was, of course you got to do it. So he was like, I'm going to go online. He bought me, like, he said, there's a deal with a Pro Tools, a microphone and an interface. And he said, I'll buy that for you. You do the recording. I'll do the editing and mastering. I can go on you. He was working full time. I wasn't because the kids were at home and I'd not long got my green card. And within 4 weeks, it was a big try, and it was a long book. It was about 12 hours.
Oof.
4 weeks, I recorded it. I had many issues. He made me in this space where I am now, he just got loads of pink insulation and shoved it in everywhere. It was honestly the dustiest, most makeshift thing, but we had this space under the stairs, so that worked. And within 4 weeks, we had this finished product. Honestly, and I had to do all these American accents. So it was kind of a trial by fire. So that's how I started. And I did continue with ACX, doing royalty share stuff and doing other jobs for about, 3 years before I even ventured into the world of Facebook and audiobook narrator groups. And
Mhm.
then was like, oh, okay, everything that they recommend you shouldn't do,
You
I've
did.
done. I did everything. But you know what? It was a great learning curve for me. I learned Stephen, my husband, did edit and master a couple of books for me. But then I was like, you've got to show me how to do this
Yep.
because I was doing it all myself. And then even within that 3 years, well, maybe not until I joined the Facebook group, I realized, you know what? I'm not doing this editing and mastering myself. I'm outsourcing that. I need to be, this is not where my skill is. This is not what I want to be doing.
Yep.
Um, and then I then started reaching out to publishers, and I work with publishers a lot as well. So that's kind of how it started. But it is, I it was me like living in a little world of my own for about 3 years, thinking, oh, I just do. I was making no money. I mean, apart from one
Yeah.
book. One book did really, it was a kid's book, and that still I get money from that. But the others I get little bits and bobs. Maybe I've made my money back on some. I need to do the math there. So that's how I got into it.
And were you always like part of SAG as well?
No, I joined when I started working for the first publisher I worked for, which was Tantor. Um, I then would look, and I think obviously being then part of the community, I knew about SAG, and I was wondering if I should join or not join, and I thought, and I'm glad I did because it's I think it's a great union, and I feel like they've got my back, and especially now with so many things with AI coming
Yep.
along, it feels like I'm protected more. And I've been a member now for over 6 years. It goes fast.
Yeah.
So, and I just today paid my dues. So, yeah, I'm proud of being a member of the union, and I was glad. And with audiobooks, I don't want. I mean, you do have to pay to join, and so I did that, and I think you can do like pay monthly. They're quite accommodating. So, and I think more narrators are joining now. It used to be, I believe, that it wasn't so important, but some publishers now, I think, do prioritize if you are SAG versus not, or they have to be careful about how
Yep.
many non-SAG members they employ. I think I'm not sure of the intricacies, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, I've got friends who've joined recently. So yeah, and so yeah, I'm proud to be a member, and yeah, that's so I
I
joined.
do
I've
pre
been
I do prefer working with folks who are union because I like to support,
oh, that's great. That's
union work as
good.
well. So,
Yeah, that's good. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
but speaking of working together, um, besides Morgan, obviously, who is your favorite character to voice and why?
So this might, I don't know if this seems like a weird one, but Emrys. The
Really?
reason, yes, I know you would say that. And you know why I love Emrys? Because so I don't know if you so I'm from Manchester, England, but when I narrate, I vary. When I'm narrating your books, the narration I do in RP, which isn't my native accent. I sometimes just make choices depending on the book. But for Emrys, I've given her a northern accent, which is where I'm from. It's stronger than mine. And for me, doing that and Emrys, I don't know. For me, doing that accent is like putting on like a pair of soft slippers. It's like cozy for me. And
Hmm.
she's a strong woman, but I just love I just think it works for her, and so I love voicing that character because it's like maybe that's the accent, not the cat, is more me because I'm doing that northern sort of soft northern accent.
Hmm.
And so I really enjoy that. And I knew that would surprise you. But I just enjoy it. And I think that's been my choice. Someone else could have had that voice, but I thought it worked well for her. And I still do, but I suppose because now I've narrated four
Now
books,
that's yeah, now
that,
that's what it is.
that's what it is. And I'm like, oh, Emrys, here she comes. She's a great character as well. I think she's a great character. So, yeah, but I like voicing her, which is not, so it's not really like way out there. It's more
Yep.
that it's cozy. It's
Yeah.
like a cozy
It's
voice for me.
familiar.
Yeah, it's familiar. Yeah, it's familiar. So yeah, I always like doing that voice, that accent.
And having, gone through the first four books, especially with the second book, any were you surprised by some of like her backstory and stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, and now I've got to try and remember all the backstory. Yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying the whole series and all and the way you're interweaving everything and the backstories and the connections with everything. I'm super intrigued to see where it's all going because there's lots of sort of unanswered things that we're like, oh, what's going on here? It's so yeah, I do, and I like her character and where it's gone and the backstory to her. Definitely, yes.
I remember when I was like originally coming up with the series, I had already written the Seasons of Magic series, and
Right.
the kind of the main character in that series, who popped up in book three, um, had this whole big like ancestral thing happening, and it was just like a throwaway line of like that ancestor's relative being like in
Oh,
this
right.
one or two scenes. And then as I was coming up with Guardians, I'm like, oh, that would be fun
Yeah.
to make those connections.
Yeah.
And that so I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Yeah, I think I like that idea that characters from one series are coming into another, which does lead on to probably I think the next question you might ask me, but just I don't know, just because the just because that the characters in one book, and especially if you've got a narrator for one book and
Yep.
then somebody else is voicing those characters in another book,
Yep.
is that's it's
I do
interesting.
recall having Stephanie, who did the season series, sending you like audio clips of like basically every single
She
character.
was wonderful. She was wonderful. She sent me audio clips of everyone, and which was great. And she also, because she also was very helpful. And I'm going to jump ahead just to say, we talk about characters that I love to narrate. The things that are difficult for me. So I love doing accents. I love them. And I love doing an American accent, like a general American accent. And then in book three, I'm right in saying that, yeah, it was book
Boston.
three, there was Boston. And I was like, oh God, what? And so I emailed Stephanie because I thought I could tell was that character Jonathan in?
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
she must have already sent me a sample of that. And I emailed her and I said, Stephanie, I'm wondering if you could help me out here. And if I send you all of Jonathan's lines, could you record them for me? And I'll just mimic you. And that is what she did.
That's
She
amazing.
she sent me, I said to her initially, I think it's about a dozen lines. It was more like 20 odd. But then, if you're doing something in an accent that's easy for you, it doesn't take long
Well,
to read some lines. And she was great. And she sent me all these lines and it was a lifesaver. I've done it with other accents as well, in accents that it's a small role in a book and I really don't want to get coaching for that small little bit. And it's just easy because I am a good mimic. If someone sends me and I can just I listen, I go back, so that's what
yep.
I did. That so boss, if there's going to be more of that, Stephanie,
Not that I can think of at the moment.
yeah, it's okay if there is. I'll work it out. It's like it's because it's obviously because I'm English. It's like if someone said, and this character's from Minnesota, I'd be like, oh
Uh,
no.
what does that sound like? A bit more Canadian than
Because I
most
know that's
American.
very specific, and I know there's lots of specific things. It's just yeah. When I saw that, I was like, I think even in my notes, I wrote "bot" because I keep a spreadsheet with all the characters and
Yep.
anything that you might say, anything accent, physicality, anything. And I think I wrote Boston and highlighted it in red with a big with a big exclamation mark. I was like, great, just remember this, Danielle. This is coming up. That's right. But I
So
got
speaking,
through it.
yes, you
But
did.
I did. And yeah, so American and I do love voicing American characters. But yeah, so it's more but it is genuinely just more difficult for me if there's a room full of Americans rather than a room full of English people.
Hmm.
Unless there are I have been had situations where I've had like five in other books, five Scottish
Oh,
lairds. And I'm
oh,
like, oh, right, they're all Scottish, they're all male, and they're all lairds. They're all of us. But there's ways, with just different ways to make them all sound different, even if they've all got the same accent. So,
yep.
and that's a great, and that's a fun challenge to have. So,
Yes.
yeah.
But I think you were correct. That was going to be my next question of
Yeah,
like,
sorry, I jumped up. Well, it was relevant because we
it
mentioned
was.
Stephanie.
Um, so aside from Jonathan, do you have any like other like interesting like quirks or like techniques that you do to like get
Into
ready for
character.
certain types of characters?
Um, so what I do when I'm doing my prep, I have like a Google sheet and I not we all have different ways. All narrators have different ways of, prepping. I will always have every single chapter. I write on my spreadsheet who talks in each chapter. And every time, like I said, every time you say anything, if a character says something about a different character, something connected, their background, like their physicality, they might like anything, that just the tone of their voice, I'll make a note of that. So then when I'm thinking about those characters, I think to myself, oh, that's a portly gentleman. Not that I think you've ever used the word portly, but a portly gentleman who has got a deep voice, or is baritone or whatever. And so before I even start, I'll look through all my notes and I have then an idea. And obviously there's only so many voices in my repertoire, if you like, that I'm
Yep.
using. I mean, there's only so many ways I can go. Um, but that gives me that idea when I'm starting. And then every time I have a new character voice this is the way I do it. I'll always mark it on my waveform, so that I can go back to it and listen. I don't keep separate files, which some people do. I just make a note in my thing. Chapter 1, that's Morgan's voice. I know Morgan's voice, but so I can then go back and listen. But then to get back into it, if I will always look, right, now I'm going to be narrating chapter 4. I look at my spreadsheet, who's talking in chapter 4. I know those voices because they could be voices of Gethin, Taryn, and Morgan, and I'm like, well, I know their voices because that's easy for me. I don't have, and I just think of them. I suppose when I think of Gethin, I think of his voice automatically now. I don't even have to think about getting into it, or Taryn, or Morgan, or Emrys. But some of the others, sometimes I might have certain physicalities that I do. My hand might do a certain thing, but more often than not, it's me looking at the notes of them and listening back to how I voiced them the first time, and then just getting into it that way. If it's a specific accent, like an Irish accent, which I do in the new book, the book
Yep.
4,
Yep.
um, I so I then I do sometimes, like before I start, might sit there and go, I'm from Ireland and I learn, and I might give myself a little
Pep
before I
talk.
even start recording, like I live in the woods or wherever, I'm going to be doing this and I like cheese, wherever. So I do things like that. The hardest thing for me, which hasn't come up in your books, is if I'm got a Scottish, and I love doing a Scottish accent as well. Scottish and Irish is
They're different.
individual. Like if there's just a Scottish character or just an Irish character, great. But if that Scottish and Irish character have a conversation and
Oh
there's
boy.
no speech tags like he said, she said, that's difficult for me.
Oh boy.
And I've had books where I've been talking in a Scottish accent and I'm like, oh, here she's doing this. And then I have to go to the Irish and I can't do it. And I have to say, I'm Irish and then go into it. I can't. And then I'll say, I'm Scottish, and then go into it. And then I have to go back and delete those bits. So because it's super hard. But somebody gave me a tip actually, which is just talking about, because Scottish people might speak more in the back of their voice, like back of their throat, and it's more front in the mouth for Irish. So next time I'm going to try that. I'm going to think about the placement. I don't tend to think about that, but it's a good idea. So watch this space. I'll let you know. I'll let you know how that goes. So, yeah, that's kind of, it's more once I've got that voice and hearing it. I'm very much about hearing things, I would say. Um, I like to hear how, I think, right, let me just go back and listen to how I voiced X person. That's once I've made the decision.
That's so
I hope that
cool.
answers that question.
It does, yes. Sort of a one that's a little off from what we've been talking about, but if you
Yeah.
could narrate like any book series, like just any, like pie in the sky, what would it be?
So I'm an avid reader. I said that. I read a lot. But interestingly, series, I very often, and it can be any series, can be crime fiction, fantasy, romantasy. I'll read like book 1 and book 2, and then I tend to go, and I've got piles of books next to the bed. I very often veer off. Like I forget, or I think, oh, that series. So the when I'm thinking about that, um, this probably lots of people might say this, but I can't help it. Harry Potter. I have read it's I know it's like it's got so many great characters in it. And I read it myself
Much younger, I'm
when it
sure.
came out. Well, yeah, not when I was growing up, when I was older than growing up. And then I read it to my kids out loud. So I have read it all. And it's just got such a great array of characters, and I love it. I would love that, that is something definitely I would just love to narrate. And then at the other end, so we've got the kids. The other series that I've read that I do love is written by an English guy. It's Cozy Mystery, which is the
Ooh,
Thursday Murder Club, which has
I
been
just watched
just,
the movie.
well, the movie's not as good as the books. The movie, if you liked the movie, you should
I
read
did.
or listen to the book because much better.
Okay.
But I've read all of those, and that the guy that wrote it, Richard Osman, is actually known in England. There was a quiz show, there still is a quiz show called Pointless that he sort of co-hosted.
Hmm.
So it was funny for a lot, I think, maybe people who watched that show that he was now writing books, but he just does a really good job. And the books are, they're sort of, um what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say endearing. They are.
They are. They're
And
kind of
yeah,
charming.
yeah, they're charming. That's the word I'm looking for. Charming. They're charming. They've got great characters. Again, really, and they're funny. So it was funny because I've got this like kids one, and then assisted living. And so I don't know. We've got a wizard school and an assisted living complex. I would love to do both of those. So that
That's so fun, though.
that it is. But those series, I think, and I do love lots of fantasy stuff, and I do read them, but I can't tell you that I'd want to narrate them because I've not read them all to tell you. Oh, as you know, but I do. I try and read. I read a lot of a variety of stuff because I'm always interested in things that are popular. Why is that popular? Why
Hmm.
is everyone reading it? And it might be that I read it and I'm like, it's not for me, and that's fine because
Yep.
there's so much there's so many books out there. If we all like the same thing, then
It'd be
we
horribly
wouldn't have
boring.
the variety. Yeah. What was it? Yeah, what did you say? Sorry, it'd be boring.
Yep.
Yeah, it would. So that's that's kind of how, oh, so I should have clicked this thing. That's where I am with, I think, those series. Yeah.
Oh.
Um, and anything with great characters that's well written, and that's why I enjoy narrating yours, because
Oh.
I really enjoy the characters and the story, and I'm always like, oh, where's it going? And when I'm prepping, you can tell when I'm enjoying it. Is when I'm prepping, I'm like, just gotta finish reading this book. Forget that I'm prepping because that's work, but it doesn't feel like work to me. That's what's so. I mean, that's not always the case, but yeah, with your books, I do. I really enjoy them. So.
I love that. Thank you. So my Zoom is telling me that we are almost
Oh,
out of time
oh, sorry.
because I am cheap and
Oh
only
no,
have the
me
40-minute one.
too. Me too.
So,
That's I'm a chatterbox. I'm sorry.
no, this has been wonderful. So I did want to just touch. So, but we're this is going up in November, and book four, it's out on retailers now. Her Emerald Shield, but it's coming to YouTube in January. Did you have like a favorite part or anything you wanted to just like read for the
Yeah,
viewers
I don't know. Have
now?
we got time for me to read it?
Um, so it told me we had 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, this is about five. I can read it if you want, or we can just talk about
Sure.
it. Yeah,
Why don't you know what? Why don't we talk about it?
yeah.
Just to be
So,
safe.
yeah,
I
no,
was
that's
very
fine.
excited when you said you wanted to read it, and if we had more time, 100%. I would
Oh
have
no,
loved that.
totally, it's fine. I think when I was trying to find a part to read, I was also thinking of a teasing part of it, and the scene I picked. Was that is when we meet. We've just met some new characters in Ireland who I love.
Mm.
When we had Irish characters, I was like, I love that, love it. And Rory, who is there's what's Rory's grandmother called? I've forgotten her name. Do you remember?
Is it Gran or Nan? One of those
Maybe
two?
she just calls her Gran. I don't
Yeah, I think
know.
it's Gran.
Yeah, it's just Gran. And so I loved, so now we have these Irish characters where we've got Gethin, Taran, and Morgan, and now in Ireland they're trying to find the baddies, I guess that's what I'm going
Yes.
to say.
Yes.
Um, and they end up at this house where the people they're chasing have actually. I think they did. They actually they went in the house. I
Yeah,
think.
they kind of came and got kind of kicked
Came
out.
and went, but we find out in the chapter, in the part that I was going to read, that there's actually a connection between Rory, who's the young woman, and Morgan. We can, and and to the whole plot of the story, and it just. Yeah, so it was I just really like that. I just liked the idea that now we've got, she's got connections to other people and we're going to find out what those connections are. And the chapter ends on, that Rory's like, I can't help you with this, but I know someone who can, and we're now going to go somewhere else. And I really enjoyed that. I just was like, oh, great. So, and I think there's some great characters, like even the bad guy in this, I loved voicing him as well. I do loved voicing baddies. I mean, you just they're just fun. It's just fun to do that. So yeah, that's yeah. So it's kind of a teaser, but
Yes.
it's a bit of a teaser. I don't want to give too much away.
No.
But
I
yeah,
will
we go
say
to Ireland.
there was a shotgun involved,
Yes, there was a shotgun involved.
which
The
I
bit I
just
was going to read, the bit I was going to read, I don't think had a shotgun in it though. That bit,
ah
not that, but
darn.
I do love that. I love the end of that. What that? Yes, that
I
didn't
think
have
that
a
was like
shotgun.
the chapter before.
Maybe, I think it
The
was the
the
chapter
the
before.
strange
But
dichotomy
that's
with
great.
the shotgun and her holding the sword.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good, so good.
Well,
Yeah,
awesome.
it's good. Yeah.
I wish this could be longer, but I think my computer is gonna like
Oh, it's
kick
fine.
me. So,
Sorry, yeah, like I said, I can talk a lot. Honestly, I'm sorry.
no, and we will make sure that I put all of your socials in the description of this
Yes,
video. So people, please go follow Danielle. She does awesome stuff on Instagram. You do so much fun things promoting the content that you
yeah, I
record. I
try.
love it.
Well, I'm trying to do more. I've got some, yeah. I wish I should do more because I do enjoy posting. I just sometimes I'm like, oh,
What do I post?
what do I post? When am I posting? But
Yep.
yeah, yeah, I've got some ideas. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
Uh,
much.
Thank you. So it's been so nice to meet you. I've loved it.